Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back on this beautiful Friday night at 9 p.m. East African time. For those of you that are just joining us. Like I promised you on Fridays, we come earlier than the 11 p.m. Our usual time of us being on the broadcast due to other arrangements in how we go about things. So please get used to it. Indulge with me. Sometimes the times keep on changing. The times keep on, am I watching the draw? No, but I was trying to follow everything through. So yeah, be our feed for the draws, Pedri. It's good to have you. You should go live after the draw, not now. Well, unfortunately, the draw has coincided with my time for this one. So depending on how far we can go with it, we'll discuss the draw and then we'll get or we'll look at it tomorrow morning in tomorrow morning's broadcast. And then also we possibly can look at what there is. But okay, you're saying already buy. Completely understandable. Go enjoy the draw. I'll bring, whatever comes out of that. Everyone's watching the draw by, you should be. I completely understand. I completely understand, and I wish you the best of luck on that front of watching the draw. So it just does coincide with our time for the Friday broadcast, and I couldn't push it because of the draw, because then there's another schedule for me coming up on another Sifia. So thank you so much for managing to chip in. If you're still here, I will come back. Always appreciated, Pedri. Always appreciated. But please go enjoy the draw, and then you can do not hesitate if you can to share some a feed with us in terms of updates in case you can. But yeah. In terms of what catches your attention the most, but I'm going to be following the draws on a different forum. That's I think on X. That's where I intend to keep up and I see what's happening. So we will give updates in that regard. So I know for a fact that it is happening today for the there will be a World Cup final halftime show. I mean, that's not a new thing. I mean, in any case, it's not that's not surprising to have an artist come and perform 3 songs in a space of 15 minutes. That's not something new. That's not something new. But like I said, we'll see what we can keep up with in terms of the FIFA World Cup. Yeah. In as far as those draws are concerned, so they are ongoing today. I know for a fact that he's been what's his name? Gianni Infantino. He's over there in Washington D.C. With President Donald Trump to preside over these draws. And legends like Ronaldo Nazario Darima are there representing a couple of other celebrities, here and there, I don't know. so many. Shaquille O'Neal. I've seen photos of him. Anyways, let's start with that. On the front of the draws, here are the pots for the World Cup 2026. There are 4 pots, and each pot includes about 12 teams. Yes, remember it has a total of 48 teams. Now, because they are pending playoff games to confirm certain slots for the final cohort of teams that will be playing at the tournament, some of, particularly in Pot 4, some of the slots there are still blank, as many as 6, slots, because they need to determine who will be in those places. I remember DRC Congo qualified for the Intercontinental playoff final, having knocked out Nigeria on the African side of things. So really, do not miss out on that as a key fact, So it remains an expectation. It remains to see what will come of good of that. The likes of Italy are involved in that mix for the draws. They are involved in that mix for the draws. So In as an of when you can catch up on with that, we'll wait to see that action go on to determine who will actually be filling in for those final slots in as far as this draw is concerned. What I'm going to try and do is get the feed, but I mean, I don't think we need to read what teams are in what pot already. But maybe pot one, because pot one has majority of the giants. Teams like Canada as a host, Mexico and USA as co-hosts. Those ones find themselves in pot one. Then Spain, Argentina, France, England, Brazil, Portugal, Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany. Those are still in pot one. So then in the other pots, all the teams that are there, Uruguay, one of the champions before, uh, and all the others are underdogs, really, if we're being honest. So all the World Cup giants are within that pot one. So that draw is ongoing. You can catch up. I think you can get the updates on the FIFA website. There should be a feed for you. I'm trying to see if I can load it on my end, and then I'll be able to possibly update you in real time. Or we shall have to rely on those feeds from X as things go. But I wanted us to continue with our weekend upcoming engagement in as far as the in as far as the weekend is concerned. We did digest this in the morning, and for those of you that care to remember, we had gone through majority of the Premier Leagues that will be coming your way this weekend. We're going to look at the run of fixtures there. There's Friday night football, so please do not miss out on that as well. That action is going to come at 11 p.m. Real Oviedo against Mallorca. That's in the Spanish La Liga. Mainz up against Borussia Mönchengladbach in the German Bundesliga. While in League One, as we speak, 13 minutes have been played between Brest and AC Monaco. While later at 11 p.m., Lille are going to be up against Olympique Marseille. Very, very huge game, that one there. So do not miss out on any of that action for those of you that are interested in catching it in as far as things go. I don't know. I don't know if I've loaded the wrong page, because what I do have is the list of broadcasters. Okay, I can see here live draw. Nothing is pulling through anyways. So, okay. Mexico is in Group A, Canada is in Group B, and USA is in Group D. I don't know why they skipped Group C, but that it is what it is. So those are the three hosts over the World Cup. And maybe the big question that has been raised in regards to this World Cup has been to do with the limitations with US's foreign policy. Okay, not foreign policy, but their policy on immigration and immigrants in connection to the World Cup. How are they going to navigate that? We know that President Donald Trump and the Republican establishment are putting as many restrictions as there is. For example, they've, I think, reduced asylum, slots to 7,500, and a lot of that is going to be dedicated to white South Africans who he thinks are being mistreated in South Africa. I do not know that to be the case. We've had friends from South Africa say otherwise. People like Soweto and Prissy Nkosi. Of course, they've not spoken to the politics of it, but from what we are hearing, it's a totally different picture than what he tries to paint, and things like that. And then, but away from the asylum, is that because of those I know that in recent times he's had a spat with the Somalis, and there's a bit of going back and forth, and that in itself. So if you're from Somalia, if you're from countries like Afghanistan, if you're from countries like I think, is it Haiti? Is Haiti among them? I don't remember. But there's a whole list of Iran, Iraq, a whole list of countries who are literally on a ban from traveling to the US. So if you're a football fan from any of those countries, or you hold a passport for any of those countries, then you may find it hard to get into the US to watch the World Cup. In regards to all the implications are for all the other countries, I will wait to see. But I know certain countries are going to get priority in terms of their visa assessment for the tournament and among other things. So I guess we'll get more updates in that regard. It's something that they spoke about with Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, and things like that. So anyways, for those of you that were part of our morning broadcast, we had, like I said, we had gone through majority of these games. We had looked at what our predictions were, but for purposes of a recap in terms of what fixtures are there coming your way, is that Aston Villa are going to be up against Arsenal at in the early kickoff at 3:30 p.m. Then at 6 p.m. we'll have as many as 5 games with Chelsea away to the Vitality Stadium against Bournemouth, Everton at home against Nottingham Forest, Sunderland playing away to Manchester City, Newcastle at home against Burnley, or Brentford travel to Tottenham Hotspurs, with the late kickoff coming at 8:30 p.m. Between Liverpool away at Aaron Road against Leeds United. Then, of course, on Super Sunday, you do have that action between Brighton, Hove Albion against West Ham United. Then you have Fulham in the late kickoff at 7:30 p.m. against Crystal Palace in that London derby. And for Manchester United fans, unfortunately, you have to wait. Okay, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which way you look at it, you'll have to wait until Monday Night Football to play away to Wolverhampton Wanderers. So that's the action that will be coming your way. Like I said, we had covered all the Saturday fixtures, so we'll begin with the what's to come on Sunday. Brighton and Hove Albion against West Ham. I think West Ham have not done themselves much favors, albeit they got a valuable point against Manchester United at Old Trafford, coming from a goal down to restore parity in the 83rd minute. That goal scored by Magasa to cancel out to cancel out Diego Dalot's opener that had given Manchester United the lead in the 58th minute. So to get a valuable point, but their loss over the weekend against Liverpool sort of killed that bit of momentum that they were trying to build, having won 2 games and drawn the other earlier on before meeting up against Liverpool. And Brighton do not come any easy a fixture, especially when you're playing away to the Amex Stadium. Recently, we've been hearing some reports about the Brighton owner in regards to match fixing. I've not really looked much into that because it had not yet been reported by major sources. The sources where you get information and you validate it, and there are sources where you get information and you take it with a pinch of salt. So for me, that's been the case. Anyways, so in terms of the context of the game itself, we know what West Ham are trying to battle. That's relegation. We know that teams like Brighton want to be in those mid-table places. Last season, with the likes of, I think, FC Bournemouth, they're really competing for those European places. There's not been too many meetings between these two sides. There's only been 16, but half of that have been draws. Then Brighton have won 7, with West Ham only winning 1, and one of those draws came last season. Basically, over the last 2 seasons, what has happened is that Brighton have been winning the fixture. Have won the last season. They won the fixture by 3-2, so it wasn't easy. You remember under Graham Potter, that was in April, and Brighton won it by 3-2. Then the earlier fixture had ended in a 1-1 draw. When you go back to last season but one, you'll find a goalless draw and a win for West Ham away to the Amex Stadium by 3-1. Then you'll find a 4-0 victory for Brighton against West Ham United at the Amex Stadium, and things like that. So it's a game that can take any course of direction, but like I've told you, there's only one win in those 16 fixtures for this West Ham side. So it doesn't give him much confidence in regards to this Brighton side, who are currently 7th on the league table and who know one too well what the implications of a victory could be. And if they can win their game, it takes them to 25 points. That means they rise as high as 4th place. But that cannot be the only motivation, because then it's dependent on the results from other teams as well. But I think more than anything, Fabian Hatzler will know the importance of having the fixture at home. And for me, whereas I remember a couple of weeks ago when West Ham drew away to Bournemouth, 2-2. They went and led the game by 2 goals to nil, and they could not hold to that. In any case, if it hadn't been for their goalkeeper Alfonso Ariola, they could have easily lost that game by perhaps 3-2 or even 4-2. So going into this particular fixture, I'm going to say Brighton will win the game by 2 goals to 1. That's my prediction that I'm going with. And then Fulham against Crystal Palace, a difficult game. Fulham look really, really good. Going forward in the second half, they looked overall, they looked good against Manchester City, albeit they lost by 5-4. I don't know if they can take any inspiration from that, but the manner in which they were conceding many goals, you would sort of understand that it came against Manchester City, a very, very difficult opponent, a team worthy of scoring that many goals against any opponent in the Premier League. But the fact that they managed to score 4 against them is also an inspiration for them. And I remember saying in the aftermath of that game that should it have possibly gone on for another 10, 15 minutes, maybe Fulham would have even managed to get a draw, because Man City looked really, really unsettled, particularly in that second half. Fulham were on top of affairs for majority of the game, because it went 3-1 halftime, and Man City came and got 2 quick goals through Phil Foden and who else? The other goal that was scored, I think it was Jeremy Doku, and it's 5-1. So at 5-1, everybody would easily think, oh, this game is as good as done and dusted, for Manchester City. But Fulham really, really made it unlike that, because after Man City's goal comes, I think, around the 53rd minute. That's the 50th goal, because the fourth came in around the 48th minute. Fulham respond before the 1 hour mark, and it's 5-2 through Alex Iwobi and then Samuel Chikwezi's brace in the 72nd minute and 78th minutes to sort of put a bit of anxiety within that game in itself. And I remember the likes of Ryan Chaki getting a yellow card for, trying to derail Rista to try and cool down the tempo, to try and kill that momentum that Fulham had built. I remember another incident involving Phil Foden. He equally went to the floor through, claiming an injury of some sort, all to try and delay the restart and kill that momentum. So those are tactics that teams deploy. But back to the fixture. Crystal Palace bounced back from their 2-1 defeat against Man United over the weekend, and they won away in midweek by 1-0. I think, who was it against? Was it? No, Nottingham Forest were the ones facing off with Wolverhampton Wanderers. I'm trying to remember who Crystal Palace beat up against in midweek. I'm trying to recall who that was. Yes, against Burnley by 1-0. That goal scored by Daniel Munoz. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. Fulham have looked really, really shaky. If we are being honest, they really looked shaky. Crystal Palace are as high as 5th. They'll know that even they themselves, if they were to win tomorrow's game, it would be of very huge significance for them, because perhaps the anticipation that could happen, that maybe either of Aston Villa and Arsenal drop points in the weekend since they are meeting one another. Maybe Sunderland can force Man City to drop some points, and they get to close on the gap. And Crystal Palace has been one of the better teams of the season so far, in a bit of a surprise when you look at the context of the Premier League table, as high as they are. As high as 5th. I remember on Thursday I was saying that Manchester United needed to win that game to come within that space, to go to 24 points and leapfrog Crystal Palace. But unfortunately, they were unable to capitalize on that with the draw against West Ham. So really, but Fulham have not had the best start to the season, if we're being honest. They've lost as many as 7 games. They've drawn 2. They're not a team that draws many games. They've won only 5, so that tells you, or that paints for you the picture that you all need to know. However, they've won 3 out of the last 5, including losing 2. In comparison, Crystal Palace have won 3, have drawn 1 and lost 1. So Crystal Palace are not losing too many games. But for me, I'm going to go here with a draw. I know it's a rare occurrence that does happen between these two sides in as far as the fixture is concerned, but I think they could cancel each other out and share the points. I know it's usually what happens. Crystal Palace have won went to Craven Cottage and won there by 2 goals to nil, while Fulham had gone to Sellers Park and equally won by 2 goals to nil. When you look at their last two league meetings, when you drive things further back than that, when you go to the 2023-2024 season, there were two draws in that fixture. A 1-1 draw at Craven Cottage, and the reverse fixture had ended in a goal draw. And then when you rewind things further back to around May 2023, for the 2022-2023 campaign, you'll find a 2-2 draw between the same sides. So for me, I'm going to go with the 1-1 draw for that one. And then, of course, on Monday Night Football, that will be Wolverhampton Wanderers up against Manchester United. I think let's reserve this game. We'll digest it on Monday morning, possibly. Monday morning. That's when we'll have a deeper insight into it. However, workers to speak to it. I've seen Ruben Amorim was, before the press today, and again he was pressed on Kobe Mino on why he's not picked or why he's not brought on, and he said he has to choose the right players for the right moment, and Kobe Mino is not that. He's not the right player for those moments, and I understand his justifications because they were pressing him about it, and they brought in the element of, the idea that he's a homegrown player, and which are all very valid reasons or points. But let's not forget or ignore the fact that, for me, him being picked has nothing to do with homegrown. It has everything to do with his capabilities as a player. We're talking about a player who assessed the Manchester United squad over the course of the summer and requested the club to permit him leave on loan. Now, the club stood in the way of that and said, no, we won't sanction a move, even if it is on loan. You're going to stay, you're an important part of this project, you're going to play. How many minutes has he played this season? How many games has he started this season? I can hardly remember, many. He's come off the bench in a couple of games, but again, over in that 1-1 draw against West Ham United, I remember him not, when they brought on, I think it was Manel Ugarte, was it? And I was thinking to myself at the time, and then of course Ruben Amorim, we know the thing he does, with drawing defenders to bring on he remained an unused substitute in that game against West Ham. But I remember when they brought on Manelo Ugarte, Lenny Euro came on to replace Aiden Heaven. That was okay. Patrick Dogu came on for Diego Dalot. I did not think it was a substitution that needed to be made, and then Mason Mount came on for, I think, Matthias Cunha, and then Lisandro Martinez came on for Luke Shaw. And I'm thinking, isn't that the moment to bring on Kobe Mainu? I mean, once you get around the 80th minute mark or the 78th minute mark, and you're leading by 1-0 for a team that has not kept a clean sheet, I mean, you should be looking to solidify that midfield. And it wasn't the best of days for Manchester United in that midfield. It's not like they were being overly dominant. Yes, overall, they dominated possession. And we spoke about that they lack ideas of what to do with the ball once they have majority share of it. But he increasingly tells you how he is pleased with him in training, and yet he continuously doesn't choose him to play. Now, I understand that different phases or moments in the game require different players, or managers have different views on how to go about situations in game time. And today I was speaking on a forum that I think had majority of Arsenal fans, and they were speaking about, Mikel Arteta and how he delays his substitutions. We spoke about the squad. And somebody tried to paint a picture as though managers were these sort of small gods that never err, that they do not get decisions wrong. And as one of the people that reminded them that, look here, how many times have we assessed a team in performance and say the manager needs to remove this player and bring on this player? And when they do that, they validate our own, sort of views. But when they go contrary to that, it's still their decision, but it doesn't mean it's the right decision. How many times have they made decisions and we're like, no, that's not the right substitution, or you've withdrawn the wrong player. Yes, the player you're bringing on is right, but the one that you've withdrawn is the wrong player. So we've seen all that. We've seen all that. We've seen all that. Sorry, I'm living. I'm living in a bit of a tension. I've told you about my chair before. It's one that keeps me on the edge. Anytime it could give away, one leg is cracked. So, anyways, that's all besides the point. But the point I'm trying to make is that sometimes, or even many times, managers get decisions wrong. Whether it's with choosing their starting 11, whether it's with the substitutions they make, and you felt that he did not make the best substitutions. And I remember defending him that he did not have a lot of firepower on the bench in terms of attacking players that he could bring on besides Shea Lassie and Mason Mount. So he eventually brought on only Mason Mount, because that's what the game required, but Kobe Mainu, because I don't know. He just seemed to find. He just can't seem to find a moment for him to play. And again, I stress this by saying that, look, when you look at Man United, how big their squad is, and given that they're only playing in the Premier League, having been knocked out of the EFL Cup quite early on by Grimsby Town, and having to wait for the FA Cup that comes in January, which still doesn't mean that they have many games to play. But it does, add on another set of fixtures for them to play. A lot of players are going to have very limited playing time. And for Kobe Mainu, who wants to be part of England's squad for the World Cup, because he said he understands that he's an England starter and blah blah blah, but he has to make the right choice. He said this, and I quote, I understand what you're saying about, he said, I understand what you're saying. You love Kobe. He starts for England, but that doesn't mean I need to put Kobe on when I feel I shouldn't put Kobe on, So that's the kind of point he was trying to stress, that for him, it's about that moment in the game. Apologies, guys. I'm trying to get my chair right. I understand that within the context of the game, the different requirements of that game. But how many times has he relied on him really? Even when Casemiro has not performed well, even if Ugarte has not performed well, even if Bruno Fernandes is having a bad day in office, he sort of rarely brings him on. And that's the point, Of course, he will defend his position, but it's not always the right decision. So I think for Kobe Mainu, he may need to look for greener pastures elsewhere. In as far as like I said, in response to that particular comment, as quoted by as brought by Fabrizio Romano in response to, it's a short video clip of Ruben Amorim speaking, and I said the sooner Kobe Mainu leaves, at least on loan, the better he will be this season. So he needs to go out there on loan to a team like Crystal Palace, I think, can afford him playing time. Maybe not as regularly. A team like Wolves, a team like Burnley. I'm sure there's a couple of teams within the Premier League that could really, really use his services. In other words, if it stays that way, he's not going to be in the England squad because he's not getting the playing time. And we're talking about a player who was really, really crucial to England in the last edition of the Euros, So that's the kind of player that we're talking about, Okay, here's an update in as far as the World Cup draws go. Like I told you, Mexico are in Group A. Group B has Canada. Group C has Brazil. Group D has USA. Group E has Germany. Group F has Netherlands. Group G has Belgium. Spain are in Group H. Group I has France. Group G has Argentina. Group K has Portugal. And Group L has England. So that completes for you Pot 1. So we are waiting for results from Pot 2 in as far as the draw is concerned. There's a live feed on the FIFA website for those of you that may be interested in following those draws quite live on. Anyways, let's go to before we leave the Premier League and go to what could come up elsewhere in as far as the weekend is concerned. I wanted to speak on the been Mikel Arteta was speaking today in regards to the injuries to that he has in his camp ahead of the weekend fixture, very important fixture against Aston Villa, who according to Unai Emery, Emi Martinez is back in training, and he's not sure whether he will be 100% fit to face off with Arsenal. But my gut feeling says he could feature in that game for as long as if he's training, then he could be chosen. Now, while speaking about the injuries, he was asked, of course, about the different players. He said about William Saliba and Leandro Trossard, days away. I mean, they only have today to the game. So 1 day away. So for him, he said days away. If they train today, they are expected to play. That was him on Leandro Trossard and William Saliba. Then on Christian Mosquera, he said a bit more complicated. We have another scan today to establish where we are with him. And then this came in about an hour ago, according to apparently Sami Mokbel of the BBC Sport. The reason as why I'm saying apparently, because the reporter reports and quotes Sami Mokbel. He says Arsenal fear Christian Mosquera will miss 6 to 8 weeks with an ankle injury. So that will be really sad and will be a big blow for that Arsenal side, especially in the absence of William Saliba, in the absence of Gabriel Magalhaes, for whom we've never been given a timeline for how long he will be out for, and things like that in that sort of context. And then, so it will be a huge blow if indeed that is the case, that the fears are as such, because I mean 6 weeks, we're talking about mid-January. 8 weeks, we're talking about the end of January. And like I said, I can't stress any further how busy this period is going to be for this Arsenal side between December and January, because even January itself is a bit of a busy schedule itself, with the FA Cup, with the start of the second part of the season, and things like that. And then you do not know what other injuries are going to come up. So it's a huge dent for the Arsenal side. He's been the go-to kind of person every time they've lost one of their two central defenders in William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes, until they both went out and they had to rely on him and Pierre Hincap, and now he's equally out. So we'll wait to hear more from Mikel Arteta in regards to how long he will be out. Then when asked about Declan Rice, he was a bit very cryptic about this. He said every hour is important. Now, we know for a fact that Declan Rice told Sky Sport that he is fine, that he will be okay. Now, again, we are speaking about this with on a forum of Arsenal fans, and I remember stressing that a player can feel that way. They can feel that they're okay, and then suddenly they are not. And I remember making reference to that game between Liverpool and Arsenal, when Arsenal went out and lost away at Anfield by 0-0. That goal scored by Dominic Szoboszlai. Remember, William Saliba started that game, and within 5 minutes, he was taken off through injury. So even Declan Rice is that. And for me, I do have fears that right now he is their most important player. He is their best player, Declan Rice. And if he's fit, he should be played, particularly in the most important of games. And in this sort of short run of, I think, about 5 fixtures, when you go back to the Tottenham game, you go back to the Bayern Munich game, to the Chelsea game, the Brentford game, and now the Aston Villa game, before they get to deal with Club Brugge and then Wolves. 2 games in which I think you can rest him. He needs to be available. But I also said they run the risk of running him ragged. We've seen how overly used Bukayo Saka was until last season, when he finally gave away and suffered that hamstring injury that kept him out of action for almost 3 months or so. He needed surgery to correct that. And ever since his return, he's not hit the same numbers that you'd expect of him. He's not looked bad, but he's not looked as sharp, So he's not looked blunt, but he's not looked as sharp. So you want to cut out things like that in terms of managing the load on these players, that even when they give their word, even if they want to play and they are available, it makes a whole difference if the player starts on the bench and they do not play for the first hour, and then you bring them in for the last 30 minutes and they give you that, as opposed to, because he's one of those players that rarely gets substituted off. Hi, Reddy. Good to have you. Good to have you back on the broadcast. Kindly like the broadcast, but thank you so much. It's good to have you back. So really, so for me, those are my feelings about Declan Rice. Yes, he could be okay, but at what risk? And I say because my reservation about playing players that are not fully fit is that what good is it for you to have them in one game, which you could win with them or even lose, and then risk the idea of losing them for a month through an injury or exacerbating a current problem they're carrying? So for me, it's not always worth the risk, particularly in the league kind of phase of things. If it were a UEFA Champions League knockout, it's a risk that you can choose to take, especially, or if we are in April and we're into the final 5 games of the season, I understand that. But at this stage in the season, every game feels like a final for the Arsenal. And that's why they want to have their best players out there, in each and every game. But what will be the cost at the end of the day? So for me, I feel that if he's not 100% fully ready, I understand. When you look at the Arsenal squad, there's no direct replacement for Declan Rice. There's no player that is going to come on and give you what Rice gives you in terms of running that pitch box to box, doing the defensive duties, doing the attacking duties, and everything within that line. There's not a single player that is going to give you that. But that means you cannot find solutions within that. So Reddy says, who is your favorite, Ronaldo or Messi? Guys, okay, it's a question that comes up more often than I prefer it, but I'll respond to it again. I don't think I have a favorite out of the two, really. If I'm being honest, I've never been one to sort of say, oh, I'm choosing him over the other. No, not really. I've found them as very, very good footballers, both with their own merits, both with their own differences. I've always said that Lionel Messi is more naturally talented, but I do not think I've seen a player work as hard as Cristiano Ronaldo. They both deserve to be where they are in the context of the history of the game or in the context of whatever records they've written in the game. They're both outstanding talents that we may take very, very long to see, if ever again, in terms of players that can match, their caliber. So I feel that when you put somebody in the position of this or that, this one or the other one, it sort of reduces the football debate of it, So really, I look at it that way. There are people that would sit down comfortably and make the argument that because Messi won the World Cup, that is what makes him better than Cristiano Ronaldo. And then you ask them, so if Cristiano Ronaldo wins the World Cup, then suddenly are they going to be equals? And so I remember when Cristiano Ronaldo won the Euros with Portugal in 2016, what team did they beat up against? I'm trying to remember. I think they beat up against France in the final by 1-0. That goal scored by Eder. And suddenly, Cristiano Ronaldo fans were saying, "Oh, he's better than Messi. He's better than Messi because he has won, a trophy with his country." And Lionel Messi, at that time, they had not won the Copa America. And I'm thinking to myself, really, is that what we are reducing the debate to? And come 2022, Messi wins the World Cup with Argentina, and suddenly, so I don't want us to reduce the debate to that, really. So, okay, brother, I understand your thoughts. Thank you so much, already. But thank you so much for your question as well. I love the conversation. I always appreciate the engagement for what it helps us expand on in terms of expanding the conversation on the forum, really. So I appreciate you on that. Okay, Rio Ferdinand is among those conducting the draws. We're already in pot 3. Okay, I guess I need to refresh my page. Okay, without refreshing my page, from pot 2, these are the teams that have been. This is how the draws have gone. In Group A, they have Korean Republic, so that's Mexican Korean Republic. Then in Group B, you have Switzerland and Canada. In Group C, you have Brazil and Morocco. In Group D, you have USA and Australia. In Group E, you have Germany and Ecuador. In Group F, you have Netherlands and Japan. In Group G, you have Belgium and Iran. In Group H, you have Spain and Uruguay. In Group I, you have France and Senegal. In Group J, you have Argentina and Austria. In Group K, you have Portugal and Colombia. And then in Group L, you have England and Croatia. Remember, weren't England knocked out by Croatia at the World Cup 2018 at the semifinals? The World Cup 2018 semifinals. I remember those two meetings, and before Croatia making it, no, actually Croatia knocked out, Croatia knocked out England by 2-1, and then France knocked out Belgium, So those two will be meeting again in the World Cup. This time around, they're going to be in the same group. That tells you how difficult that group is going to be. But yeah, those draws are ongoing. So that's the update in terms of team news that I wanted to give you from the Arsenal camp. Pot 3 has Norway, Panama, Egypt, Algeria, Scotland, Paraguay, Tunisia, Cote d'Ivoire, Uzbekistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and South Africa. I don't see how you avoid two African teams being in the same group. If you have, let me see, Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa, you have 5 teams from Africa in pot 3. Okay, you can still avoid that. Okay, I see. You can avoid that. But let's see. Let's see the first one for group South Africa goes to I think goes to Group A. Yes, South Africa in Group A with Mexico, and Korean Republic. So, yep, that's South Africa for you. They hosted the 2010 World Cup that was won by Spain. You remember Ghana reached the quarterfinals and they were knocked out, unfortunately, by Uruguay. That's the best team from Africa that performed the best in that tournament. That's Ghanaian team that had Asamoah Gyan, Sule Ali Muntari, Kevin Prince Boateng, among others. Then the next country that has been picked is Qatar. Qatar hosted the 2022 FIFA World Cup that was won by Argentina, beating up against France on penalties in the finals that preceded the 3-all draw in normal time. So those ones are going to Group B there. So okay, let's keep up with the World Cup draw for purposes of pot 3. Then okay, the next one is Paraguay going to Group C. Paraguay going to Group C, where you have Brazil, Morocco. So that means a South American team two South American teams are in the same pool. Morocco, they are from Africa. They are hosting the 2025 edition of the Africa Cup of Nations, and they will be co-hosts for the 2030 World Cup that will be hosted between Portugal, Spain, and Morocco. But there will be fixtures to commemorate the century of the World Cup. That's 100 years. You'll have some games played in South America, particularly I think Uruguay, Argentina, maybe Paraguay. I stand to be corrected, but at least some games will be played over there. So yeah, you have there you have it. Paraguay in Group C. Okay. Next country being picked here is Cote d'Ivoire. Yes, Cote d'Ivoire. Oh, Paraguay have been put to Group D. Yes. Apologies, Paraguay are in Group D, where you have USA and Australia. So that means Paraguay, because they from the same continent with Brazil, they're not meeting in the group stages. Cote d'Ivoire is in Group E with Germany and Ecuador. That's Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire are the reigning champions of the Africa Cup of Nations, having beaten up against Nigeria by 2-1 in the finals. Frank Kessie and Tunisia, sorry, and Sebastian Haller. They are scoring for Tunisia is the next team that has been chosen, and they're in Group F, where you have Netherlands, Japan are there. Tunisia won the 2004 Africa Cup of Nations. Try to remember. Don't remember much of their performances at the World Cup. I don't think they've been pretty anyway. Okay, next team being chosen is Egypt. Egypt from pot 3, where they got to be placed. Possibly in Group G, where you have Belgium, Iran. I think that's where they're going to be. Yep, in Group G, that's where they're putting Egypt, where you have Belgium and Iran. Okay. Okay, let's see what the next team is. We still have about 5 teams more in that pot. 4 more left after Scotland. Let's see what pool Scotland will be put in. Scott McTominay, Killan Tierney, very, very good team. Andy Robertson are there. Let's see what group they're going to be slotted in. They've been put in Group C, where you have Brazil and Morocco. So that's where Scotland have been put. I can see Carlo Ancelotti is in attendance, the Brazil national team manager. So he knows who his opponents are in Scotland, in Morocco. Remember, Morocco were the first African team to reach the semifinals of the World Cup at the 2022, World Cup. Saudi Arabia is the next team that has been chosen. Let's see where Saudi Arabia will be put in as far as this draw is concerned. I can see Hervé Renard there, the manager for Saudi Arabia. Hervé Renard is a very familiar name on the African continent as one of the managers that has won the Africa Cup of Nations with different nations. He won it in 2012 with Zambia, and I'm trying to remember who else he won it with. But Saudi Arabia have been put in Group B, where you have, Okay, Algeria is the next choice of country that has been picked. Let's see where Algeria will be put. But in the meantime, let me find out where Saudi Arabia has been put. Saudi Arabia is in Group H with Spain and Uruguay. Saudi Arabia in Group H with Uruguay. Algeria has been put in Group J, where you have Argentina and Austria. Very, very difficult group. There, Austria is a very, very good team. Last I checked, aren't they under the charges of Ralf Rangnick? Okay. No. Is it Australia or Austria? It's Austria, actually, not Austria. Uzbekistan is the next team that has been chosen. Let's see Uzbekistan, where they're going to be put. In Group K or Group I? Okay. I remember the draws are taking place in Washington, D.C., the political capital of the United States of America. President Donald John Trump is in attendance. They've been put in Group K, Uzbekistan, where you have Portugal and Colombia. Colombia, James Rodriguez, I'm forgetting the name, the defender who used to play for Barcelona and Everton at some point. Okay, the second last pick is Panama from that pot. We know that Panama have been in contention with the USA over the Panama Canal in recent times when Donald John Trump was voted into power for his second term. Let's see where Panama are going to be put. In Group L with England and Croatia, that's where Panama find themselves. That means the last pick is Norway. Norway is the last team in this pot. Let's see where they're going to be put. Norway. Okay. Norway should be going to Group I. Is it? Where you have France and Senegal? Yes. Norway in Group I, where you have France and Senegal. Now, you see, you cannot avoid having two teams from the same continent being in the same group because Europe in itself has 16 slots, and I think 13 of those are direct. With is it only 13? Okay, but yeah. Oh, yeah, Guinea Toure is at the event. I see him being interviewed. But anyways, let's proceed in regards to what's to come our way in as far as the weekend is concerned. Elsewhere across, elsewhere across Europe in regards to our weekend. But we'll keep up with what's happening over there. In the Spanish La Liga on Saturday, Getafe will be up against will be away to Villarreal. Remember, Villarreal, I think, are third in the La Liga standings. Deportivo Alves take on Real Sociedad, while Real Betis will come at 8:30 p.m. against Barcelona. Big game. Then Athletic Club or Athletic Bilbao will take on Atletico de Madrid at San Mamés at 11 p.m. In the German Bundesliga, still on Saturday, Augsburg will be up against Bayer Leverkusen. FC Cologne will take on St. Pauli. Heidenheim will be at home against Freiburg. VfB Stuttgart will take on Bayern Munich. Wolfsburg will be up against Union Berlin. While RB Leipzig will be at home against Eintracht Frankfurt. In the Italian Serie A, Sassuolo will take on Fiorentina. Inter will be up against Como, while big game, by the way, at 8 p.m. Hellas Verona will be up against Atalanta. In League One, Nantes will be up against Lens, or then Toulouse will be up against Strasbourg, while Paris Saint-Germain will take on Stade Rennes. That's for the fixtures on Saturday. And then on Super Sunday, in the Spanish La Liga, Elche will be up against Girona. Valencia will take on Sevilla. Big game. Espanyol will be up against Rayo Vallecano, while Real Madrid will entertain Celta Vigo there. Remember, Real Madrid just beat up against Atletico Bilbao in midweek by 3-0. Kylian Mbappe picking up a brace in that one, as well as Eduardo Camavinga being the other goal scorer. And meanwhile, Alexander Trent-Arnold suffered an injury that will see him out for a period of what? Is it going to be 8 weeks? 6 to 8 weeks? I mean, very unfortunate for Alexander Trent-Arnold there for his start to the La Liga. It's been injury after injury, really. And yet I thought he was very pivotal in that 3-0 victory against Bilbao. I think he will be a huge miss for Xabi Alonso. Anyways, in the Bundesliga on Super Sunday, Hamburg SV will be up against Werder Bremen, or Borussia Dortmund will take on Hoffenheim. In the Italian Serie A, Cremonese will be up against Lecce. Cagliari will take on AC Roma. Lazio will be up against Bologna. And then the big game will come at 10:45 p.m. when Napoli take on Juventus in the Italian Serie A. Then in League One, Nice will be up against Angers. Auxerre will take on Metis. Le Havre will be up against Paris FC, while Lorient will take on Lyon to complete the weekend for some of your major leagues in as far as Europe is concerned. So, and up next is going to be the draws from Pot 4. And yeah, we're going to be Pot 4 as countries like Jordan, Coba Verde, Ghana, Curacao, Haiti, New Zealand, and all the other teams that are waiting to come through the playoffs. So do not you have to wait for that, really. You have to wait for that. But yeah, the draws are almost getting wrapped up here. We're into the final pot. That's our Pot 4. Let's see what the picks are going to be in as far as things go. Let's okay, the first pick is okay. Denmark, North Macedonia, Czechia, and Republic of Ireland. That means that's a playoff. So whoever advances out of those is the one that will be going in what group? Is the one that will be going in what group? Okay, it's a bit of in Group A, where you have Mexico, Russia, and the Republic of Korea. Let's see who the next pick is. It's another playoff. Italy versus North Macedonia was up against Bosnia and Herzegovina. Whoever advances after those playoffs will be the other team, possibly in Group B, where you have Canada, Qatar, and Switzerland, possibly. Yes, in Group B, where you have Canada, Qatar, and Switzerland. So that's a playoff. Oh, okay. Let's see which team is picked next. Let me hope it's not another playoff. Otherwise, it will be too much of a coincidence. Give us a country that is already there. Yes, Haiti. Haiti. Haiti there. Haiti, I think they play in CONCACAF or CONMEBOL, one of the two anyway. In Group C with Brazil, Morocco, and Scotland, that's where Haiti are going to be. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Curacao is the other team that has been picked. Curacao will be in Group D, I think, with USA, Paraguay, and Australia. Australia. That's where Haiti will be. Oh, no, they've been put in Group E. They've been put in Group E. I thought it was automatic. So in Group E, where you have Germany, where you have Curacao, Cote d'Ivoire, and Ecuador, that's where Curacao have been put. Let's see what the next draw is. As of course, this being the final pot is what will wrap up our broadcast. So and then let's see. Okay, I think this is another playoff. Iraq, waiting to see who to play between Bolivia and Suriname. Oh, Suriname. Yes, in that playoff, whoever will go through is the one that will be in. Let's see what group. In group. Let's see what group. Yes, in Group I, where you have France, Senegal, and Norway, that's where they will be put. Okay. Then who is next? Next is Coba Verde. Sorry, Cabo Verde. Cabo Verde, not Coba. Cabo Verde. Cabo Verde. Let's see what group they're going to be put in. Cabo Verde will be in group, let's see, in Group H, where you have Spain, the 2010 champions, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. That's where you have Cabo Verde. I'd fancy Spain and Uruguay to go through from that group. Let's see. I mean, let's see who we got here. It's another playoff, I suspect. Yes. Turkey versus Romania, Slovenia versus Kosovo. Whoever makes it out of that playoff is the one that will go in what group? Let's see. Romania, Turkey, Slovakia, and Kosovo. Whoever goes through out of that playoff will be in group. Will be in Group D, where you have USA, Australia, and Paraguay. That's where they will be. Okay. Still have a couple of more to go. So please bear with us. Is this another playoff? Yeah, it's another playoff. Ukraine versus Sweden, Poland versus Albania. Out of those four teams, whoever will make it out of that playoff is the one that will be in this upcoming group. Let's see where they will be. But Ukraine, Sweden, Poland, and Albania. They'll be in Group F, where you have Netherlands, Japan, and Tunisia. That's where you'll have them. Then, okay, we still have Like I said, a couple of more to go. Jordan. Yes, Jordan. 3 more to go. Jordan, which group are Jordan going to be in? Let's see. Jordan. What group are they be put? Are they be to put in? In Group J, where you have Argentina, Algeria, and Austria. Yep, Group J is complete. Argentina, Austria, Algeria, and Jordan. Okay. We still have Ghana, New Zealand, and another playoff which involves the DRC that is coming up. Let's see what's been chosen. Okay, appears like another playoff. We're done with the playoffs. DRC Congo will face off with whoever wins the game between Jamaica and North Macedonia. Sorry, and New Caledonia, not Macedonia. North Macedonia are up with Italy. So New Caledonian will meet with DRC Congo, depending on who goes to against Jamaica. So what group will they be in? Let's see. They're going to be in Group K, where you have Portugal, Uzbekistan, and Poland. Sorry, not Poland, and Colombia. Yes, Colombia. Portugal, Colombia, Uzbekistan, and whoever makes it out of those playoffs. Then lastly but not least is, let's see, it's either Ghana or New Zealand. One of the two. I suspect it's Ghana. I couldn't. Yes, it is Ghana. It is Ghana. Okay. Ghana is going to be in one group. Nana Akufo-Addo is still president, I suspect. Still is. I know Wodemaya from Ghana. Wodemaya. Let's see what group are they going to be put in. Group L, where you have England, Croatia, and Panama. That's where Ghana are going to be. In Group L, England, Croatia, Ghana, Panama. That's where you have them. Okay, then New Zealand is the last team that New Zealand is going to be put in Group G, where you have Belgium, Egypt, and Iran. So that completes the draw for the World Cup 2026. We'll have a more review on that to tell you, to read it out all over for you all over again. Otherwise, it's been a wonderful broadcast. Allow me to wish you a blessed night. Thank you so much, Reddy, for being part of this broadcast. Thank you so much, Pedri, for having been on earlier, and every single one of you that has managed to catch it. Stay blessed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.